Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am your host Faisal Raza Khan and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, the United States has once again sparked controversy by announcing sanctions on Chinese and Pakistani entities and an individual, which according to the US State Department allegedly involved in Pakistan's ballistic missile program. This is the sixth time that US announced sanctions on the critical things on Pakistan. China rejected these sanctions while Pakistan termed this move as politically motivated, citing Washington's history of selective targeting. Unfortunately, right from the Indo-Pacific policy to such kind of discriminatory sanctions, today we deeply examine the implications of the US actions on the overall peace and stability in the region, and also definitely on Pakistan's national security, which is critical, particularly in the right now situation in the South Asia and in Indian Ocean. To talk on these important matters, we have in our studios Dr. Shamsi. He is the faculty member of the National Defence University. Most welcome to you, sir. Thank you very much for your presence. And with him, Mr. Taimur Khan. He is the research associate at Institute of Strategic Studies, Islamabad. Most welcome to you, Taimur. Thank you very much. And online joining us, Brigadier retired Ghazanfar Ali Shah Sahab. He is the strategic affairs expert. Most welcome to you, Brigadier Sahab. Thank you very much for your time online. Before starting our discussion, we must have to know that what actually and what really the US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said on and even reiterated on 17th of September 2024. Let's have it.
So the United States is committed to strengthening the international non-proliferation regime by taking action against networks supporting activities of proliferation concern. We have been clear and consistent about our concerns with Pakistan's ballistic missile program for many years. The executive order action that was taken last week follows our October 2023 and April 2024 designation of 6 PRC entities and 1 Belarusian entity that have worked to supply Pakistan's missile program, as well as the listing of numerous Pakistani and third country entities on the Department of Commerce entity list for decades.
As you have just listened to the spokesperson's words, what the US State Department said, proliferation concerns, continuous use of US sanctions against the Pakistan ballistic missile program, US national security cannot be impacted.
It's been our long-standing policy to deny support to Pakistan's long-range ballistic missile program, and we will continue to use our sanctions and our other tools to ensure our national security cannot be impacted, and that the U.S. financial system cannot be used by proliferators.
So, this important juncture, we have to just think about that what US wants, why on one side US is time and again terming Pakistan as a US ally, and on the other hand putting sanctions. This is a real concern for Pakistan. So when we are talking about Dr. Shamsi Sahab about the announcement of the US State Department's or US government sanctions, this is the sixth round of these sanctions to be levied by the US on Chinese and the Pakistani entities since November 2021. This whole episode was started just before the announcement of Indo-Pacific strategy in December 2021. Is it a coincidence or it's by design?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Faisal. Very important subject. It can't be a coincidence. US does not do things by chance. They always do it by design. They always do it with utmost preparation. And sanctions on Chinese companies and Pakistani entities is not by any chance. Why? Because US has a history of sanctioning Pakistan. Whenever they need us, we are major non-NATO allies.
Yes.
Whenever we are not required in their calculus, we are sanctioned. So, I am not surprised on the 6th round of sanctions. There will be many more. This is not the last time they have sanctioned.
As announced by the State Department.
As announced by the State Department. So, we should be mentally prepared. Here, the issue is not what USA is saying or why is US sanctioning. They will do it whatever is they deem in their interest. We have to see what is in our interest.
Yes, definitely. What is in our national interest?
Okay. So, since these sanctions are not new, number one. Number two, Pakistan is not the only country that has been sanctioned by the US. Okay?
Obviously.
And there are so many other countries who are living with these sanctions for more than 4 decades. Iran is sanctioned, Venezuela is sanctioned, Afghanistan is sanctioned, China is sanctioned,
Russia is
sanctioned.
Yes.
So, so there is nothing to worry about. We will continue our programs if they suit us, if they suit our national interest.
Obviously, and we have to.
And we have been doing it.
Yes.
Throughout the 80s, we were under sanctions, but we continued our program. And Alhamdulillah, when the time came, we responded to India's test, isn't it? Likewise,
no doubt about that.
likewise the missile technology also, or any other technology. Whatever is there in our national interest, that program will continue. Whether it is the modernization of armed forces, whether it is the development of new missile systems, whether it is the development of nuclear weapons, whether it is development of subcritical or subkiloton or tactical nuclear, whatever it is. If it is needed for our security and if it is needed for our national interests, we will guard it jealously, no matter who sanctions us.
Definitely, you are absolutely right about that. Taimur, the US has again endorsed its double standards towards Pakistan by sanctioning Chinese in the Pakistani entity and an individual. Allegedly, what they say that those are involved in the ballistic missile program, to which Foreign Office called the US move clearly politically motivated, and that what's the meaning of it, and how do you see this US administration's behavior of continuously targeting Pakistan due to its strategic ties with China?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much. A very pertinent question. Faisal sir, first you have to understand and refer to the National Security Strategy document of the United States of America, in which China, along with Russia, has been listed as one of the most major national security threats to the United States of America. And our Foreign Office understands that now Pakistan is being viewed through the lens of China. Before that, it was the Afghanistan lens, and before that, it was while the Soviets were in Afghanistan, then it was being viewed from a different perspective. But now, for better or for worse, we have to acknowledge this fact, and the Foreign Office understands that China is the main lens through which Pakistan is now being viewed. And since China has been declared one of the major national security threats to the United States of America, so any country that is actually cooperating with China, especially in the military, strategic, political and economic domains, by extension also becomes a target of the US designs or US actions. So here we actually see, by sanctioning Pakistani entities and individuals as well as the Chinese, America is actually trying to signal to Pakistan that any country that goes against the actions or the foreign policy or national security interests of the United States of America will be targeted, regardless of the fact that what sort of a past relationship they have had with each other. And we have called it politically motivated and also very dubious, or you can say the double standard policy, because with the United States of America, Pakistan has always had a transactional relationship. Like Dr. Shamsi rightly mentioned, that whenever the United States required or needed Pakistan's help with regards to any regional foreign policy interests or extra regional, all the ills or all the doubts with regards to Pakistan were shredded out, and cooperation with the United States of America increased vis-a-vis Pakistan. So United States will always pursue its national security interests, regardless of the fact that whether we are their partners or not. So that is why the sanctions, the current sanctions that have been levied against our missile programs are politically motivated. And of course, we also cannot ignore the recent bonhomie that has been developed between India and the United States of America. So although Pakistan is being viewed from the Chinese lens, the Indian factor can also cannot be ignored as well, because India is now a very privileged and strategic partner of the US, with so much of the defense cooperation going on, the economic collaboration going on, the military to military and military technical cooperation that has been taking place over the last decade. India and US has entered into more than 5 strategic agreements, including LIMCOA, COMCASA, BECA, and so on and so forth. So you can see that, and plus the unceremonious exit of the US and NATO troops from Afghanistan was another factor that added to, you can say, left a bad taste in the mouth of the Americans, especially with regards to Pakistan. So there are several factors that actually contribute to the current American orientation with regards to Pakistan, and the current sanctions against our missile program are just one link to it.
You rightly said it well, your point well taken. Brigadier retired Ghazanfar Sahab, the US announcement of discriminatory sanctions comes at a time when Pakistan and China held a 9th round of bilateral consultations on arms control, non-proliferation, joint nuclear technology cooperation and emerging technologies. Why Washington thinks that non-proliferation of missiles or nuclear aspects is the only aspect the US concern and not the concerns of others?
Well, thank you very much, Faisal. Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Much of the text and much of the facts have already been explained by 2 speakers before me, and whatever they said indicates the total background of the issue. And total background of the issue, why US is taking the lead, why US is the contractor of the world, is basically US is a superpower, and now Russia and Ukraine at arms to each other. There is fighting going on between Russia and Ukraine, and American orientation towards Ukraine, and American compulsion of the European countries and other countries to help Ukraine to fight against Russia is one of the factors which is devising the basic American interest into the, not into the European region, but into the region which concerns Pakistan, India, China, and all in this area. And whatever has been said before is that Pakistan, the America views Pakistan from the Chinese angle, because the National Security Strategy Review paper, if you see the mentioning of the name of Pakistan or mentioning the interest of the Pakistan, has not been endorsed, which used to be done before. And the close cooperation which has been going on between India, it's not only the what I'm worried at is not only the economic or the defense sector with which the US is cooperating with India. It is the intellectual sector also. It is, there are new defense, other than the defense treaties, there are the fellowship which is being going on. They think on the think tanks with each other. They carry on the institutionalized work for the defense cooperation between India and Pakistan. There have been exchange of repeated military exercises. There has been exercise of the US military exercise, and there has been exercise of the special forces. There has been Navy exercise. Then recently there has been exercise by Tiger Trump, which included tri-services. So China, Pakistan viewed from China angle, Pakistan viewed from the Indian animosity angle, that how do you have to equip India to fight against Pakistan or to keep a pressure on Pakistan. All these things are very obvious. But
Ghazanfar Sahab, you have rightly mentioned about that actually US is looking Pakistan through the Chinese angle as well as the Indian adversary or the animosity angle as well. And it is again a coincidence might be, or it was deliberate to give any sort of a message to India when the senior official of the US State Department, Donald Lu, was there in India when these sanctions was announced by the State Department. Do you think that it was a clear message to India that what United States is doing for India against Pakistan?
First, the message had always been very clear, and Dr. Shamsi said that America uses us when they want to use. And I mean, I'm very sorry to say, but I'll have to say that what has happened in Pakistan at a political level because of the American intervention for the last 2 to 3 years indicates how much pressure do we take of the American tactics. Actually, I mean, whatever has been said is clear indication of the American policy. And Americans are never going to be the friend of Pakistan, as you say. And as versus China, America has always opposed whatever Chinese interest is in Pakistan. And recently, the CPAC, but the CPAC was opposed by two countries I mean, at the same time. One was India and the other was China. And another was America. So whatever China cooperates with Pakistan, America never likes it. It doesn't like it because he thinks himself to the SHO of the area. He thinks that he's the contractor of this region and he can pressurize us, especially pressurize Pakistan at any level. He knows that he cannot pressurize India. He cannot. India has been involved in the extrajudicial killing. India has been involved in the operation across the continent. Recently, there's a tariff going on which will say that Americans have caught Indian National Security Advisor Ajit Kumar Deval in connection with the murder of the Sikh leader there. But India takes that pressure, it rejects. It has been signing deals with the Russia also. It has been signing deals with other countries. It is basically the fault, I would very categorically say, fault lies with us and our leadership. That we take that pressure whichever America imposes on us. Now, what do they want? You must know they basically at this point of time to protect Israel, whatever Israel has been doing in the Palestine, at this point of time they want to limit your missile program to less than 5,000 kilometer range. Whereas if you talk of non-proliferation, India has just tested Agni Prime, with intercontinental ballistic missiles in March 2000, and they have done it with the latest technology, and that technology says that they have done it with the multiple independent targetable re-entry vehicle, MIRV technique. And MIRV technique, if you study the, not in Pakistan, but the independent analysts, they say that it is the most...
As the Islamabad rightly responded to Washington's move and noted that some countries, that includes the United States, while professing adherence to the non-proliferation norms, have waived licensing requirements for advanced military technologies for favored states, quote unquote, like India, and categorically termed it's to undermine global non-proliferation efforts, exacerbate actually the military imbalances and threaten international security.
Well,
what do you think?
Sir, this is not the first time that such a waiver has been given. If you refer to Agreement 123, the civil nuclear deal that was
definitely
signed
in 2008 when the Obama administration given a waiver.
Apart from that, the AUKUS nuclear submarine deal.
Yes.
You see, that is again a proponent of nuclear proliferation. But as Brigadier Saab rightly mentioned that US is a hegemon.
Yes.
And there will always be difference in its theory and practice. And it is going to use its, you can say, its discretion wherever it finds it necessary as per its own national security and foreign policy interests. Now, if we talk about the current Gaza conflict and we talk about the Ukraine conflict, in both these conflicts, the United States and the European Union, or members of the European Union, have been supplying Israel as well as Ukraine with long-range ballistic missiles and air defense systems in order to enable them to target their adversaries inside their own territories and create destruction on a massive scale. In case of the Gaza conflict, there has been more than 42,000 deaths already recorded. And during the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the deaths on the Russian side, as per the US estimates, have been more than 300,000 personnel.
Yes,
you see? So the duplicity in the US policy is there. And like I said, that since it is a hegemon, so it is going to use its discretion and its foreign policy clout and its prowess wherever it finds it necessary in order to pursue its national security goals. So this is exactly what we are seeing here in this case, that since Pakistan does not enjoy the place of being at the right or the good books of the US policymakers at the moment, while India and some other countries that you rightly mentioned are favorable to the US interests, are being given and awarded those waivers. And then again, with regards to the purchase of the S-400 air defense systems,
There is a long list of that.
by Turkey as well as India. Turkey was sanctioned by the US under
but
the CAT
not India, but
not
India was given a waiver on that aspect as well.
Exactly, but with good reason, because as per the Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's statement a couple of years ago, where he said that India plans on spending more than $150 billion on its military modernization and buying new equipment, and it had promised the US military industrial complex that majority of that business is going to be given to the US companies.
Yes.
That is why you see so many US military industrial complexes and their companies having agreements with Indian local companies in order to establish that connection with each other. So you can see
and
that
definitely they are relocating to the Indian territory as well.
Exactly.
You are right, absolutely right. Dr. Zasib, is it not correct that whenever Pakistan needed, as you have rightly mentioned earlier, Washington always turned away, whether it was 1965 when Pakistan needed the US ally, its origin submarines repair, but that was not granted. In 1971, when Pakistan asked for assistance as the US ally, but unfortunately that was not there. Halting of Pakistani F-16s in 80s through the Brown and Pressler amendments. Then afterwards, the Oliver Hazard Petty class frigates, then the halting the CSF chunk, then of course AH-1Z or the T-129 Turkish gunship helicopters. The propaganda against Pakistan's nuclear program, then the missile program was targeted by the sanctions. These are all related to the country's national security, Pakistan's national security. Why Pakistan national security is not important for the US?
Yeah, because Pakistan does not fall into their calculus as far as their strategic interests are concerned. For tactical or operational interest, yes, Pakistan becomes an ally whenever they need us in Afghanistan.
But for the limited period.
For limited period. That's why I said the strategic interest. Okay. You rightly pointed out a number of things, but most importantly, perhaps, in my opinion, French reprocessing plant, which we were supposed to get, and Americans stopped French from supplying it to us after India carried out 1974 Smiling Buddha tests. And then also they stopped the Swedish company to give us the Viggen aircraft.
Yes.
And they also stopped A-7 aircraft that was supposed to be supplied. So it's a long history. But what I am coming at is that whenever a superpower makes a move or makes an announcement, it is not without a purpose. So look deep into the US purpose of these sanctions since 2021. What are they achieving? Number one, they are pleasing India that we are countering Pakistan, number one. We are weakening Pakistan relative to you, so they are appeasing India, number one. They are preparing India for a
It's a kind of a pleasing and teasing policy.
Indo-Pacific against China. Okay. Then they are forbidding Chinese companies to get business elsewhere through sanctions. All right. So these three purposes straight away in one move they are achieving, isn't it?
Definitely.
So the issue is not that what US is doing. The issue is what we are doing. Isn't it?
That is paramount.
Like Brigadier Sahab also pointed out, it is we who has to decide what is in our interest and how would you handle. Especially this administration, as I keep saying, Biden administration will go down in the history as the weakest administration, US administration in last 40 years. Why? they were unable to stop China's rise. China has already risen now. It's an old dicta that China is rising.
Yes, of course, no doubt.
Okay, number one. Number two, they were unable to persuade Russia from not attacking Ukraine. Number three, they are unable to convince Netanyahu to stop genocide in Gaza.
And they are openly exposed as well across the world when it comes to Ukraine or to the Gaza crisis.
So now it is trying to salvage the situation because this is an election year and elections are only 2 months away. So to show it to the American people, they will try to impose more sanctions on Chinese, more sanctions on Russians, more sanctions on Pakistan and the countries like that, and Afghanistan. So this is by design and this is not by any chance, because they have to salvage this situation. Donald Trump, a former president and the candidate, has very rightly pointed out to Vice President's claims that when she comes into power, she will do A, B, C, D. And Trump responded spontaneously and rightly so, that why don't you do it now? You're the Vice President. And President at this time is nearly incapacitated.
Obviously.
Isn't it?
Definitely.
So why doesn't she do it now? Why is she waiting to be elected? So what I am trying to say is that, like you raised the point in the beginning, that is it by design or coincidence? No, sir. There is no coincidence in political affairs.
It's by design.
It is by design.
No doubt.
And they are achieving multiple purposes out of this.
Your point well taken. Brigadier Ghazanfar sahab, history shows that US behavior was always be so selective, discriminatory and based upon revenge, despite Pakistan suffered huge human and economic losses during the Afghan war, the war against terrorism after 9/11, and till now. Pakistan is suffering because of the US historic discriminations. How do you respond to this?
Yes, Pakistan has suffered. Pakistan gained also from US. At the time when we didn't go to Russia, we went to US. And in 1960s, the arming of Pakistan Army and the support provided by the US in the defense field was also of paramount importance. But what happened? Why did it turn back? What was the reception which was given to Liaquat Ali Khan and Ayub Khan? Why didn't it go further? It is because of the reason that Pakistan had to develop the pace of the development in this region. If you see of the Indian development, if you see the Pakistan development in various fields. In military fields, we developed a lot. That with the Chinese cooperation, we went on to claim most latest technological aircraft nowadays, JF-17 Thunder, a new version of JF-17 Thunder, which is coming into the market, will inshallah bear the stealth factor also. But economically, we had to develop better than what we were doing in the last in the initial regime. We couldn't do that. One thing. Second thing is that Pakistan is the Islamic country, and third thing is that Pakistan is the only Islamic nuclear country, and that possession of the nuclear technology was never liked by America. It did overlook the development of the nuclear technology by Pakistan because it suited their interest at that point of time when there was Russian war in Afghanistan and Pakistan was fighting side by side with the Americans to expel Russian from Afghanistan. We could have, right from the start, we could have followed a dual. We could have followed our foreign policy on different tangents. If we developed our foreign policy with China, we should have developed our foreign policy factor with Russia also. What is India doing? You see, now India holds an annual summit. That's an annual leader summit between Russian's Prime Minister and the Russian President and the Indian Prime Minister. And they have got a lot of intellectual linkages with the Russia also, and they have got with the Americans also. I think we have been putting our eggs on the Indian and the American basket, and then looking that America will come and support us. America has got divergent views. We have
Brigadier Sahib, you are absolutely right. We have to have some sort of a diversified foreign policy so that we can gain Pakistan's or to protect Pakistan national interests elsewhere. No doubt about that. So, Taimur, do you not think that the US is pursuing the policy of vested interests towards Pakistan, rather based upon principles, first by halting its military hardware and the strategic needs, and now by using sanctions as a continuous or consistent pressure tactics and the arm twisting for aligning with China particularly to give strategic advantage to India?
Well, sir, you are absolutely right, but I am a realist myself, so I look at things in a very pragmatic manner. So US being a hegemon, or any country for that matter, will always pursue...
I think so. We should all have to be realists.
Exactly. We have to look at the situation from a realist lens, and US or any country for that matter has always pursued its intrinsic and its vested foreign policy and national security interests. The mistake or the naivete on Pakistan's part was that we have been expecting morality in international affairs and politics.
There is no morality.
There is no morality in international affairs or politics for that matter, and we should have always gone for the perusal or pursuit of our own.
It is unfortunate, but you have to pursue your national interests either hook or by crook.
Aggressively. But in order to do that in an amicable manner and in a very strengthened and confident manner, we have to first internally balance ourselves before doing some external balancing with extra-regional and regional powers, because your foreign policy or your foreign strength is dependent on your domestic strength and domestic policy. So at the moment, unfortunately, Pakistan is internally not balanced at all. So first we have to go for internal balancing, and then our foreign policy will naturally be more confident and proactive, contrary to the existing status quo that we have.
Your point well taken, Dr. Ziasab. But how do you see as Washington's move, its timing looks so suspicious, as it specifically target two of the strategically important Pakistan missile systems. One is Shaheen 3 and other is Ababil. As a State Department official, Matthew Miller named these missile systems, to which Pakistan's adversaries, especially India, has lots of issues. Because both of the missiles are beyond 2,000 kilometers of the range.
Actually, we don't really need this kind of distance to target India. We are neighbors. But this is one way of targeting Pakistan and putting sanctions on it. But can I just go back to Mr. Taimur's argument?
Why not? Why not? Please.
You know, if we are at World War 2.5 at this time, where 40% of the world is facing conflicts and wars, is because of realism. It is because of realism. This bogey of self-interest and anarchic world and all that is causing the world to this. Because most of the governments, especially the hegemons, because realism creates the
obviously
hegemons.
Yes, there are contours of there are different contours of the realism, no doubt about that.
So if you are following Machiavellian approach of realism, where prince needs to do whatever is in his best interest and forget about the people, then obviously we will have this kind of world in which we are sitting.
Obviously.
I am not that realist. I have coined my own theory of realism with Z, not with S. I do not support realists. I support realizers with Z, realism with Z. I am a supporter of Sun Tzu, who says that you should win your battle without fighting. And it can be done. Hybrid warfare is one way of winning your argument. But if you follow the classical realists, Machiavelli, then yes, you will have bloodshed and you will have wars in the Europe also, in the Middle East also, and in Africa also, and in South Asia also. I would urge on all practitioners and academics to please stop pursuing or stop supporting this age-old argument of national interest and self-interest, anarchic word and all that. You want to pursue your interest, yes, you pursue it, but not at the cost of my interest. Can't you pursue your own interest without hurting my interest? That's what the beauty of diplomacy is.
Definitely, you are absolutely right. Absolutely
So
right. Shamsi
please
sir.
do not tell me that realism is the only way of managing this world.
No doubt there are
Because
several
realists
ways,
have
definitely.
failed to ensure global security, regional security and domestic security. We need realizers, we need game changers. Mr. Trump was in power for 4 years, no new war was started. Was he not pursuing the national interest of US? Was he not?
No doubt, he was might be.
So, what I am suggesting is humbly request who still profess classical realism that yes, states pursue their national interest, but can't they realize that they must achieve their interest not at the cost of the other?
Obviously, you are absolutely right, sir.
Find
Absolutely
other
right.
means.
Absolutely right. Your point well taken, Shamsi sahab. Brigadier Ghazanfar sahab, the US claim itself, and Ghazanfar sahab, one request because we have run short of time, so we will be very brief on these questions. So, the US claims itself as the world's oldest democracy, champion of human rights, believer of justice, but when it comes to unprecedented genocide and the war crimes in Palestine and Kashmir, unfortunately, Washington turned blind eye towards Israel and India and their actions, and continuously arming them with sophisticated high-tech and lethal weapons and military technologies, while always singling out China and Pakistan. Why is it so?
Realism is combined with the hypocrisy. You say of the national interest, you say of the national policy. For the superpower, the realism is different, and for the powers like us, the realism is different. When the hypocrisy is involved into all those national policies, then you do the things which you are doing. In Gaza, if you say the US has been stopping Netanyahu for not undertaking genocide, it's wrong. US has been supporting genocide. US has been advocating Netanyahu to undertake the genocide. And that is what the policy of the superpower is. Americans have got a lot of interest in a lot of regions. So they do it whether it is realism or whether it is non-realism. Whether it is a Machiavelli or whether it is Santazo, America will do whatever their American administration does, whatever Pentagon does, whatever their president does. Now you are talking of the sanctioning of the Americans, improving sanctions from some of the countries. Trump signed that bill that you can exclude some of the countries from sanctioning from the American sanctions. So it is basically not followed on any moral on the world policy. It is followed by the individual's interest. It is followed by the Americans' Pentagon interest. They want to kill somebody, they will kill somebody. They want to attack a country, they will attack that country. They want to subjugate power, they will subjugate power. And moreover, in countries which are economically not developed and which accept the American pressure, they'll kill those countries. They will destroy those countries. And that is what is happening in Pakistan also. That they pulled Pakistan now to a stage where Pakistan, when goes to IMF, when we take the loan on higher interest rates. It is because we are weaker at this stage. So forget about the policies, forget about the things. Americans will do what the American administration will do, whatever suits them. And that's what they have been doing. They have been.
Brigadier Sahab, your point well taken. Taimur, very quickly, and Shamsi Sahab, to you as well, if you both answer this, but very brief. Pakistan, despite not being the member of the Missile Technology Control Regime, MTCR, adhering all guidelines, while the China as well adhering this since 2002. While India became the member of MTCR in 2016, but torn apart all specific guidelines under the US nose, but not a single movement comes when the Washington even shown its concern what India is doing. And I also mention here the US actions giving complete strategic autonomy by waiving the CAATSA regime. So that is countering Americans' adversaries through Sanctions Act. So for India, everything is okay. So why it is that even Pakistan do legitimate things and those are illegitimate, considered as illegitimate?
Well, with all due respect to my senior colleagues, this is what realism is. I wish the world was led by optimists and by peacemakers, but unfortunately this is not the case, especially the major global powers. They are being ruled by realists, hardcore classical realists like Donald Trump, like Joe Biden, President Putin, and so on and so forth. But countries like Pakistan, like Brigadier Saab was very right in mentioning that realism for major powers is very different for countries like Pakistan. So what Pakistan needs to do is, in order to pursue its own national security interest, is to be realist and build up a deterrence level where any other country, be it India or any other country for that matter, would think twice before breaching or trespassing Pakistan's national security interests. This is not how humans are wired.
Definitely, you are
especially in the, so that is why India has built that deterrence, it has built that value for itself, and it has made itself that attractive for the major global powers, where all of its ills, be it the human rights violations, the violations of international norms, extrajudicial and extraterritorial killings, and so on and so forth, be ignored by all the major powers of the world, and still a symbiotic relationship be established with them.
Definitely.
Pakistan
your
needs to do the
point
same.
well taken. Shamsi Sahab, if you want to add or to say something on that.
No, it is true. As far as the Americans are concerned, you could be darling at one time and you could be enemy on the other time. So Pakistan at this time is not the darling because they don't need us. India is, because they need to prepare India to face off China in Indo-Pacific.
Definitely.
So this is very clear. There is I mean, there is no rocket science involved in American policies at this time.
Obviously, you are absolutely right. Thank you very much, Dr. Shamsi Sahab, for your presence here in the studios. Thank you very much, Taimur, for very candid discussion. And I'm really thankful to you, Brigadier Retired Ghazanfar Sahab, for being online and have very candid views. Thank you very much for your presence. Viewers, as you have just listened to our panelists, might be it's kind of a face-off for the US president, for the US leadership during the presidential elections. But Pakistan is suffering because of the US actions, and Pakistan has to pursue the policy of an independent state with its national interests intact, and that is very important. We have to look our interests where we have to go, and it is important that unfortunately the US is looking Pakistan through the Chinese lens and with the Indian animosity lens as well, giving clear messages to India that how Washington is weakening Pakistan and its national interests. But it is not the case. Pakistan has to pursue its national interests whenever and wherever it is needed, and Pakistan has to go on with these. It is important in the strategic realm also. US eye is totally shut when it comes to the India's huge defense pileups, when it comes to the Agni 5, K-15, the BrahMos supersonics, S-400, Su-30 MKIs retrofitting by the Russians, the CAATSA regime, MTCR and all others. So it is clear indication that India is enjoying the perks and privileges from the United States, but United States is actually pressuring Pakistan because of Indian hegemon. So this is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz Nasir.